My name is Oliver Bennett, and I'm a history teacher. My wife, Emily, and I had just bought our first house-a-charming old Victorian home nestled in a quiet town. It was everything we'd dreamed of. Creaky wooden floors, stained glass windows, and even a small garden out back. The house was over a century old, full of character and quirks. We felt lucky to call it ours. The first few weeks were blissful. We spent our days unpacking boxes, rearranging furniture, and dreaming about the renovations we'd eventually undertake. But one evening, while organizing the basement, we discovered something strange. The basement was unfinished, a dimly lit space with exposed pipes and cobwebs clinging to the corners. As I moved some old boxes left by the previous owners, I noticed a wooden panel in the wall that didn't match the rest. It was a small, square door, about 4 feet high, with a rusty metal latch. "Hey, Emily, come look at this," I called. She joined me, brushing dust off her hands. "What is that?" "I have no idea," I replied, crouching to examine it. The door didn't seem to belong. The wood was darker, almost black, and the metal latch looked ancient. "Do you think it leads somewhere?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. "Only one way to find out," I said, though a strange unease settled in my chest. It took some effort, but I managed to pry the latch open. The door creaked ominously as I pulled it, revealing a narrow, pitch-black tunnel that descended into darkness. A cold, damp breeze wafted out, carrying with it the smell of earth and something faintly metallic. "Creepy," Emily murmured, stepping back. "Yeah," I agreed, shining my flashlight into the tunnel. The light barely penetrated the darkness. The tunnel's walls were made of old bricks, slick with moisture. "We should leave it alone," Emily said, quickly. "It's probably nothing good." I hesitated. Part of me agreed with her, but another part, the part that loved history and uncovering secrets, was irresistibly drawn to the mystery. "Let's just see where it goes. It might be nothing." Emily sighed but didn't argue. "Fine, but be careful." The tunnel was narrow and damp, forcing me to stoop as I walked. The air grew colder with each step, and the flashlight's beam seemed weaker, swallowed by the oppressive darkness. Emily stayed behind at the entrance, her voice distant as she called after me. "Do you see anything?" "Not yet," I replied, my voice echoing. The tunnel felt impossibly long, as though I'd been walking far longer than the house's dimensions should allow. Just as I considered turning back, I saw something ahead, a faint light. It grew brighter as I approached, until I stepped into a small chamber. The walls were lined with shelves, each filled with objects that looked like they belonged in a museum. There were old books, strange sculptures, and jars containing substances I couldn't identify. At the center of the room was a stone pedestal, and on it sat a small wooden box, intricately carved with symbols I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened the box. Inside was a key, a large, ornate key made of what looked like silver. It was surprisingly heavy, and as I held it, a strange sensation washed over me, like a shiver running through my very soul. Oliver. Emily's voice called from the tunnel, snapping me out of my trance. Are you okay? Yeah, I said, pocketing the key. I'm coming back. As I retraced my steps, the air seemed heavier and the darkness pressed closer. When I finally emerged, Emily looked relieved. What did you find? She asked. I showed her the key. It was in a box in some kind of chamber. There were all these old things down there, like artifacts. Emily frowned. This feels wrong, Oliver. What if it's dangerous? I shrugged, trying to shake off the unease that had been building since I found the key. It's just a key, probably an antique. I'll look into it tomorrow. That night, I dreamed of the basement. In the dream, the door was wide open and something was crawling out of the tunnel. A figure, hunched and shadowy, with glowing eyes that burned into mine. I woke up in a cold sweat, the image seared into my mind. The next morning, Emily noticed the dark circles under my eyes. You look terrible, she said. Did you sleep at all? Bad dreams, I admitted. I didn't tell her about the figure. She was already uneasy about the door and the key. But as the day wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that the key was more than just an artifact. I spent hours researching symbols similar to the ones carved on the box, poring over books and obscure websites. What I found made my blood run cold. The symbols were ancient, linked to rituals and gateways, portals to other realms. The key, it seemed, was not meant to open a lock in our world, but something far darker. That evening, I went back to the basement. Emily protested, but I assured her I'd be careful. The tunnel seemed even more oppressive this time, the darkness almost alive. When I reached the chamber, I noticed something I hadn't before. A large stone door at the far end, engraved with the same symbols as the box. The key in my pocket seemed to grow warmer as I approached the door. My hands trembled as I inserted it into the lock. Part of me screamed to stop, but another part, the part that craved answers, urged me on. As the key turned, the ground trembled. The door groaned open, revealing a swirling void of shadows and whispers. I stumbled back, my heart racing. From the void emerged the figure from my dreams, its eyes glowing with malice. You have freed me, it said, its voice a low growl that echoed in my skull. I tried to run, but the tunnel seemed to stretch endlessly. The creature's laughter followed me, cold and hollow. When I finally burst into the basement, Emily was waiting, her face pale with fear. What happened? She demanded. We need to leave, I gasped. We fled the house that night, but the shadow followed us. Wherever we went, strange things happened. Lights flickering, shadows moving on their own, whispers in the dead of night. It became clear that the creature wasn't bound to the house. It was bound to me. In the end, I returned to the basement, alone, determined to set things right. I don't know if Emily ever forgave me for leaving her, but I couldn't let the shadow destroy her life, too. As I write this, the key sits before me. The creature's voice is louder now, urging me to open the door again. I don't know what will happen when I do, but one thing is certain. Nothing in this world is free, not even curiosity.